Hey guys, this is Mark Yo here again and welcome back to my channel. March 2021, a month where Xiaomi released plenty of value for money phones. So I have here today the Redmi Note 10 Pro, Poco X3 Pro and Poco F3. To me, all these three phones can fit users with different budgets and needs. There's no need for better here. Today, I'll be talking from a normal average user point of view and also a phone enthusiast perspective. First, let's talk about the design. Of course, design preference is very subjective. To be honest, I love these three phone design. They are unique. So glass back on the Redmi Note 10 Pro and Poco F3 and plastic back on the Poco X3 Pro. So all of them actually have curved back. Then these phones actually fit nicely onto my palm. Although I must point out that Redmi Note 10 Pro is actually the lightest at 193 gram. Poco F3 is 196 gram and Poco X3 Pro is the heaviest at 215 gram. So most average user might have the tendency to choose either Redmi Note 10 Pro or the Poco F3 due to the weight and thinner size. So I would say that Poco F3 and Note 10 Pro is actually fits comfortably in my hand. Next is the phone screen. These three phones have 6.67 inch 1080p Full HD display. All these three phones also have 120Hz refresh rate, which makes scrolling much more smoother. AMOLED display on the Redmi Note 10 Pro and Poco F3, IPS LCD on the Poco X3 Pro. The AMOLED display on the Note 10 Pro is very good already, but the E4 AMOLED on the F3 is even more vibrant and deeper black. Poco F3 screen is one more level up. Not to say that Poco X3 screen is actually bad or anything, it's still vibrant and more comfortable for your eyes under dark environment, but my preference still goes to the Note 10 Pro and F3. Oh, to add on, all these three phones are flat screen, so accidental touch is actually avoidable. One thing to add that the Poco F3 screen actually has the smallest punch hole compared to the rest of the two. I think that F3 punch hole camera is actually the smallest I've ever seen so far among all the phones I've ever used over the years. So good job, Poco. Let's talk about performance and gaming. This is where the Poco X3 Pro with the Snapdragon 860 and Poco F3 with Snapdragon 870 shine over the Note 10 Pro. The Poco X3 Pro and F3 can play most of the high graphic and frame rates demanding games in the market. And the touch sampling rate for F3 is actually 360Hz and Poco F3 Pro is actually 240Hz. PUBG, Sport 9, Call of Duty at higher frame rates and graphic is not a problem for these two phones. For Genshin Impact at 60 frames per second, you start to feel minor stutter faster on the Poco X3 Pro, okay, compared to the Poco F3. The X3 Pro actually heats up faster than F3 during Genshin Impact gameplay. To be honest, I think the smoother Genshin Impact gameplay I had was when using my Snapdragon 888 Mi 11. There was no frame drop at all, although the maximum temperature went up to 50 degrees Celsius. As for Redmi Note 10 Pro here, it has a decent Snapdragon 732G, which is good for casual gaming and heavy games too. But for heavy games like Sport 9, PUBG, you can only play it at lower frame rates and lower graphic for this phone. So in short, if you want to game better, go for the Poco X3 Pro or the Poco F3. Point number 4, let's talk camera. If you are a megapixel freak, then the 108 megapixel main shooter of the Redmi Note 10 Pro suit you the best. The Poco F3 and Poco X3 Pro main shooter only 48 megapixel. So these three phones have 8 megapixel ultra-wide cameras. To me, daylight normal shot and ultra-wide shots are just similar to each other. However, Note 10 Pro and F3 have 5 megapixel super macro lens, which can take super close-up shot of object, as compared to 2 megapixel normal macro lens of the Poco X3 Pro. As for the night mode in very dark environment, the F3 and X3 Pro seem to be much better than Redmi Note 10 Pro. On the side note, the F3 and X3 Pro can enable night mode during ultra wide and 2x zoom, whereby the Note 10 Pro night mode is only at 1x shot. Let me show you guys. So all these phones are in night mode, but only 1x in Redmi Note 10 Pro. But these two phones, X3 Pro and also F3, has ultra wide and also 2x zoom during night mode. So I've taken some sample shots of photos under dark environment and macro shot and uploaded to my Instagram. So I'll link at the description below. Overall, if you don't mind about night mode preference, performance, you can opt for Redmi Note 10 Pro due to it has quad camera setup with the highest megapixel, 108 megapixels and super macro lens. Next is dual speaker performance. They all have dual stereo speaker setup, which make media and content consumption more immersive. The Poco F3 speakers is powered by Dolby Atmos, whereby the X3 Pro and Note 10 Pro speakers have high-res audio certification. To me, F3 speakers are the best, followed by X3 Pro and Note 10 Pro. F3 speakers have loud volume with nice bass. So you guys can check it out my speakers demo during my unboxing video for these three phones. On a small side note, the Poco X3 Pro and Note 10 Pro have 3.5mm headphone jack. So there's no headphone jack, as you can see here, for the F3. But the Poco does provide a free 3.5mm to Type-C dongle in the box. So just in case you guys need to know. Lastly, let's talk about the price. In Malaysia, the price for a base model Redmi Note 10 Pro, 6GB RAM, 128 memory, starts from Ringgit Malaysia 999. Base model for the Poco X3 Pro, 6GB RAM, 128 memory, is also Ringgit Malaysia 999. But Poco constantly having flash sales, which make the base model price to Ringgit Malaysia 899. Poco F3, 6GB RAM, 128GB memory base model price is at Ringgit Malaysia 1399. But Poco also constantly having flash sales, which make the base model price to Ringgit Malaysia 1299. Talking about flash sales is today, whereby Poco F3 and Poco X3 Pro are selling at discounted price on Lazada and Shopee Malaysia. So guys, go check it out. Overall summary, you can get the Redmi Note 10 Pro if you want 108 megapixel quad camera setup, casual gaming, lightweight easy to hold phone with AMOLED display. But if you want to play heavier graphic games with less than Ringgit Malaysia 1000 Ringgit budget, go for Poco X3 Pro with Snapdragon 860. Of course, if you have more cash, you can go for Poco F3 with a better Snapdragon 870 performance for heavy games, AMOLED display with better Dolby Atmos dual speakers. These three phones would most probably fit your needs. If you appreciate my effort, please like, share and subscribe. Until then, take care, stay safe. Peace guys.